Been a lot of talk lately about protecting women, so we're going to get into that with today's lesson. Get out of the man's way. Let's get it in. Now before we start, be sure to take a moment to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so the algorithm knows that you want to continue to get these lessons and other people can get them too. Alright then, bang bang. Now today's lesson is mostly for the ladies. Now gentlemen, you get to sit back, relax, and just listen. But ladies, this is for you. So there will be some presuppositions, ladies. Number one, you gotta be observing rule 2. You gotta know what kind of man you got. Meaning, if you got a hothead or somebody who's trying to fight everybody all the time, there might not be things that fit with this. But please understand, ladies, that's an exception. There will be other exceptions that we're not going to get into real deep in this video because we're trying to keep it short. But most likely that is not your situation. That is a rare thing, and we'll talk about how you can identify that. But for the most part, ladies, this is for you. So what does it mean, get out of his way? What is he talking about? What am I talking about? I'm talking about actual physical battle, ladies. I'm talking about a physical altercation between two dudes. Your job is to know what your job is not. Your job is not to get in the middle of these two men. Don't do it. That is not you. It's not your place. It's not your thing. Would you want to get in between two rams that are crashing into each other? Two sets of deer that are antlers crashing into each other? No. Why would you physically be in between them? Don't step in between your man and another man who are about to do some physical things. There's a few reasons for that. Number one, safety. It is not physically safe for you to stand in between two dudes that are about to crash together. Your man is most likely going to be at a massive disadvantage because the other guy has no allegiance to you. So if you're standing in between and he's rushing forward, he might not stop or he might push you out of the way. You will get hurt. So do not be in between two dudes that are going at it or about to. Even if they're walking slow up to each other, don't get in the way, ladies. Physical safety should be the first thing on your mind. You just need to back away. Get your ass out of there. Now, if you must, for some reason, stop the situation, use your voice. Don't use your physicality. Use your voice if you have to. Don't do that, but do it, but don't. What do I mean? I mean, try not to interfere at all. Try not to even say anything. Try not to even use your voice. Just let the dudes handle it. If you got questions or if you hope that it would stop, ask questions afterward, after it's over. Let it go down for the most part. Again, there are exceptions, which we'll talk about some other time, but for the most part, you need to learn the rule, which is physically don't be in the middle. Even verbally, don't say anything. You say something at the wrong time. If your man's going in for a punch or he's about to block a punch that's coming his way, if you go, babe, he's going to be like, huh? Bam! He going to get hit in the face because he's listening to you. Don't throw him off with your voice because your voice has power. Don't misuse that power. Number two, you got to remember, ladies, it is not your job to stop him from doing his. It is his job to do what he's about to do. And I know what you're thinking, ladies, and we're about to address it. Well, what do you mean it's his job? And what if he's doing this and it's not right? And I don't think and I don't believe in violence. Okay. I'm not condoning violence, but what I am saying is there are times in which situation might call for him to physically, verbally be aggressive with another guy in order to do the things that he needs to do as a man. There's certain jobs and things that need to happen, certain things that need to go down, which I'm about to break down for you right now, in order to make sure that what he's supposed to protect and keep safe stays that way. So let it ride. And I know a part of why you don't let it ride a lot of the times is because you don't understand what's happening, which is why you're here now. You're in class, you learn it. So let's find out what it is. All right, let's get into these details. So it's important for you ladies to understand there are nuances. there are things that happen between men, especially unspoken things. Most of our language is nonverbal. There are things that your man can see and notice, either coming from across the room or certain things, even if you're standing right next to him and another guy. There's certain physical moves and actions that you might not understand or know what they mean or what the other guy's trying to do. So in other words, you should stay out of it, because oftentimes you don't know what just happened and you don't know why the physicality is necessary. Because all male interaction can be boiled down to one thing. CYWMA. Cover your woman's mouth always? No, that's not what it doesn't mean that. That's weird. Don't do that. Don't get arrested. So what does it stand for? Can you whoop my ass? It's a question. Can you whoop my ass? All male interaction boils down to that thing right there. That question. Can you whoop my ass? And I know you're like, what are you talking about? Nah, I'm telling you, brother to brother, friend to friend, friend to foe, stranger to stranger. If you boil everything down to the final thing is always, can you whoop my ass? It's the question on the table. And again, we don't talk in explicit ways when we're talking to each other when this question is asked. You're not going to hear the words. No one's going to say, can you whoop my ass? But I'm going to let you know, ladies, exactly how it goes. And it goes a little something like this. Some negative situation either happens or is about to happen, and your man steps in. The question now needs to be addressed. How is it addressed? First, the question is asked. Can you whoop my ass? Then the question is answered. It's either a yes or a no. Ain't no maybes, ain't no sorta. It's a yes or a no. Then there's a test. Sometimes there's a test, sometimes there's not. It all depends on what happened with the yes or the no. Then there's the resolution. Resolution always happens. So what does that mean in more details? Okay, first part. The question needs to be asked. Can you whoop my ass? Now, it doesn't mean someone's going to literally say those words. You will see it in a few ways. You'll see it with either a look. You'll see it with a word. Tony. Where basically, you just told Tony, hey, again, as a man, if a dude is watching this, ask your dude. He knows, yeah, that is a question of basically Tony needs to stop what Tony's doing, and if Tony don't stop, physicality happens. Or it happens with an exchange. An exchange kind of like this.
Clark, are you okay?
Nope. Emmett Berlanti? I'm John Kent's dad. Lois Lane's husband. We need to have a talk.
Get the hell out of my face.
You hit my son. Pulled a gun on my wife. And now you and I are gonna step outside so we can talk.
I'm not going anywhere with you.
I'd really rather not do this in front of your daughter.
You think she hasn't seen this before?
Now, if you ever threaten my family again, take something that isn't yours, or sell another dangerous drug, I will come for you.
Okay.
Now leave.
Damn, Ken.
Now that clip kind of encompassed the whole thing, which I love. It's one of my favorite clips of all time. If you don't know, that was from Superman and Lois, and the dude, Clark, that's Clark Kent, that's actually Superman. The woman in the booth who kind of stopped her man, that's Lana Lang. It's his friend. So when Superman Clark Kent came into the diner, she knew on his face something went wrong. Now, for context, well, he kind of said it and you kind of heard it, but that dude, the scraggly looking guy, messed with Superman's family, messed with Lois, his wife, and messed with his son. Woo! Even the big blue Boy Scout will roll up when you mess with his people. So don't do that. Duh. But anyway, you saw the whole thing go down. The question is asked. When he goes, I want to talk to you outside, that's him asking to ask the question. Technically, he would have asked the question outside, but even asking to ask the question, all men understand what that means. It's in our rule book. Now, ladies, if you don't know this, our handbook, the Book of Man, is downloaded into every man when we are born. We all know what the rules are. We don't talk about it really, but we all know what the rules are. And the rules have been the same from the beginning of time until now. And they will be the same forever. The only time it's possibly gonna change is if for some reason we become human souls inside robot bodies, then maybe the rule might change. But until then, the rule of man will stay the way it is forever. So he knows that that guy knows, yo, we need to go outside. Means I gotta ask you this question. Can you whoop my ass? When the scraggly looking dude goes, no, I don't want to go anywhere with you. Scraggly looking dude is basically saying, I can take you. Yeah, I got that. Can I whoop your ass? Of course. You're Clark Kent. You're nobody. I can slap you around. That's basically what's happening. Again, these are not the physical words that are being said, ladies, but this is what we know and understand as men. Across the board, everybody know that. So then Clark tries to ask the question again. Are you sure? You sure you don't want to just go outside? You sure? You sure you think you can whoop my ass? I know you don't know who I am, but homie, are you sure? Then that's when the dude does the test. So when the guy gets up and goes, I don't want to go anywhere with you, my daughter's seen this, and he pushes, that's the test. The test is increased action. Increased action in terms of actual fighting, physical aggression. It could even be loud talking or certain words that are button pushing. It's increased action because he's testing the dude who asked him the question. It's to see. Okay, let's find out. If someone goes, can you whoop my ass? If the answer is yes, I can, we have to test this now. This is where the actual fight goes down and or fighting type things. So this is where you saw him push, nothing happened, and then Superman put hands on him. In a small way, because you know this dude could get broken in half. After that, ladies, it's the resolution. Now the resolution can happen in a few ways. The resolution happens with either physical movement. It's usually a physical backing away type movement. Either you literally back up as the man sits down and makes himself lower than the other man, or he can just straight flee. He can leave. He can be out. He can leave town. He can leave the scene. He can leave wherever. Or the third, which is the most. He can shut up. That's really the big one. Really, he could lower his talking, he can lower the volume, he can lower the type of things that he's saying, or he could just stop talking altogether. It all depends on how you got there. So if dude had been talking slick and talking crazy to Clark's wife or whoever's wife, then that would be the thing that needs to stop. Basically, during the resolution, the person who lost has to fold, has to cower, has to bow down, has to bounce, you don't get to do what you intended to do or what you were trying to do or what you were actually doing. You lost, so you have to quit. Even if you go, yeah, you can whoop my ass. Then there's no need for the test, and you go straight to the resolution. If for some reason Clark's like, yeah, let's go outside and talk, and dude's like, yo, I'm sorry, I can't even believe you right. If he instantaneously folds, that basically means dude is answering the question with, no, I can't whoop your ass, and I need to move into the resolution, which is, I'm sorry, I'm folding, I'm making myself smaller, let me get out your way, let me shut the fuck up, let me do whatever I need to do so I don't continue to make you upset. So again, real quick, ladies, the question needs to be addressed. Can you whoop my ass? So, how do you address it? The question is asked, then it's answered based on the answer. If it's a yes, I can whoop your ass, then it moves on to the test. During the test, whoever wins gets to get what they want. Whoever loses has to fold, has to bow down, has to concede. Then you move into the resolution. The one who folds, concedes, loses, has to do one of those things. They gotta shut up, they gotta sit down, they gotta flee, they gotta back up, they gotta stop their action. They have been checked. I know you might be thinking this is a little bit much, and you guys actually think that. We don't even think about it. Because again, the thing is downloaded. Many dudes, even your dude right now watching this, might not realize that that's what's happening in his head. He watched the scene with you and he's like, that is what happens. Again, I study this, so I'm kind of crazy to think about how we function. But we're doing it on instinct. It's a very primal animal thing, which is why it don't change. Which is why it ain't going nowhere. Which is why you see it in animals like this. Because that animal's protecting something. He's protecting a territory. He's protecting his offspring. He's protecting his woman. He's protecting something. And just because we're humans and we're supposed to be these evolved creatures, we kind of are. But for the most part, we still an animal. And other dudes need to be checked. And ladies, this is key. This is key not just for your survival or the protection of your immediate family or that man. This is something that is imperative for society as a whole. And I'm not being hyperbolic. This is necessary. Men check other men. And you cannot stop that process. And we check other men with a certain amount of force. Sometimes force is necessary. Sometimes force is just in the form of those other things like the look, the word, Tony. Or it might be an exchange. If it crosses into an exchange, then yeah, it will probably be some physical force. If that cat isn't adhering to what he's supposed to do, if the bad guy isn't adhering to what he's supposed to do, if the look didn't stop him, if the word didn't stop him, then an exchange needs to happen. Why is this imperative for you and for society? Well, obviously I'm going to let you know. First things first, your immediate safety. Your immediate safety might require a certain amount of force in order for that dude to stop. What you have to understand is that people who are rule breakers, people who break codes, people who do things that are against the law, they're not going to stop just because they're told to, because if that was the case, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. It's already something they're not supposed to do. They're not supposed to be rolling up on people and slapping people and pulling guns on cats, and they're not supposed to do that. Now, obviously, there might be fights for lesser things, but even those lesser things might not be against the law, but we all know they're not supposed to be done. Because like I said, it's in the rule book, you know. Don't mess with no man's woman. Don't mess with no man's kid. Don't mess with his house. Don't mess with his territory. The territory is a massive thing for men, period, across the board. You messing with another dude's territory, dash your ass, Mr. Postman.
Your ass, Mr. Postman.
And you gon' get something. And the only thing that's gonna stop cats sometimes is a certain amount of force. So, yeah, if they can get stopped with a look, cool. If they can get checked with a word or a set of words, cool, fine. But some people need physical force in order to quit. So your immediate safety is on the line, often. So if he needs to use force to make sure you're safe right in that moment, let him do it. And the last thing about why a certain amount of force might be necessary. And again, I'm not condoning violence. I'm just saying it might happen. It might be a voice, it might be a look, but it might be somebody getting, pushed up against a wall with a stern talking to. The final thing as to why a certain amount of force is necessary is to send a message.
It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
Sometimes your man needs to send a message not just to that dude, but everybody. Especially if for some reason people feel the need to try him or to try your family or to try your territory. Because this is something I've said in other videos, but I'll say it again here. The moment you have something of value, anybody, man, woman, child, whatever, but especially as a man, you need to be prepared to protect it. So let's say you're famous for some reason, or you're rich for some reason, or you've got something nice, you've got something good. People are gonna try you. So in order to make sure you're not just checking that dude, but every single dude, every single person who might try you, your family, your territory, you letting everybody know, nah, my family, off limits, homie. In order to let people know, this one dude might get hurt, but he got hurt so bad that other people heard about it, other people witnessed it, other people saw it in the diner, and they're like, yeah, maybe don't mess with the Kents, because Clark is kind of crazy. That might be something that has to happen, depending on how the situation is played out, depending on what you got to protect, how much everybody has tried to get it, or the potentiality of other people trying to get it. We do that in regular society with laws. If you rob somebody of a certain amount of money, it's considered a misdemeanor. If you're from another country, that means it's a lower level law. If you rob past a certain amount, then it becomes a felony. It means a federal law. You get higher levels of prison, longer sentences, longer carryover punishments. Like if you're a felon, even if you've served your time, you can no longer hold firearms. You can no longer, I think you can't even vote, if I can remember correctly. If you're a felon, you lose your ability to vote forever. So there's certain things that are legally done. And again, it was set up by dudes because we understand the need to check at a level that sends a message to everybody to stop certain actions in their tracks. Certain important things you want to make sure it never happens again from anybody. Society needs for men to have the ability to check other men. Talking about these exceptions. Now, ladies, I know you might not know, what does this mean? You told me to just stay out of the way, but what about if I have a man who I think he's going too far? Do I not have a voice? Do I not get to say what he gets to protect me on and what he doesn't get to protect me on? No. I'm sorry, but no, not really. Because of the fact that you don't really know what's happening, you can't really be an accurate judge of what's going down. Sometimes you might want him to jump in during times where he don't need to, and it might be an overkill. Sometimes you don't let him jump in when he should, and him not jumping in means this crazy action or this crazy person or this crazy situation is gonna happen again because you didn't let him check it to the level it needed to be checked in the first place. But I'm not just gonna tell you what the problem is. I'm obviously gonna give you solutions. So, your solution, ladies, ask another dude. Ask another man who you trust. This is where you would go to your father, your brother, your cousin. Even in some cases, your son, depending on how old he is, will be able to let you know, because that cat knows. He knows what's up. If your son is like 5, he might know, he might not. I'm not exaggerating. A 5-year-old boy we know the rules. So he, depending on how you taught him or his dad, like he's gonna know, nah, that makes sense. But try to go to a grown-up. But ladies, you should, and this is just a little extra bonus thing I'm gonna throw on there for you, go to a man who you are blood related to. Go to your father, go to your brother, go to your cousin. Because you don't want the answer when you ask, like, hey, my man was doing this, or my man was doing that, or he jumped in this way, and he tried to stop this guy, and should I let him do that? Should I not? Was that wrong? You're going to be asking the question after the fact. You could also ask ahead of time, but the guy's going to be like, it kind of depends. Kind of like what I'm doing now. I'm just throwing out the generality. If you want the specific, you got to wait till the specific happens, then ask your dad, then ask your brother, then ask these people. Now, if you don't have a man who you're blood related to, then the next best thing is to ask the husband of one of your friends, the boyfriend of one of your friends. Now, why am I asking you to do that instead of going to a guy friend? Well, you should already know this, ladies, but many of you don't, or you're delusional about the concept. But 97% of the male friends you got is trying to hit it with you. So you can't really trust what he says about your man, because he might just say whatever he needs to say so that he can get in your drawers. So you gotta watch out for that. Guy friends are good. They can mostly tell you the truth and answers, but there might be times in which he's gonna be self-serving with his answers. So, another thing, you can ask an ex. Exes, especially if he broke up with you, they are people who could be true friends to you, because they've already been there. Especially if they got a new person, there's no need for him to go back or try to win you or lie or anything like that. Now, if you broke up with him and it's been recent, he still wants you, then he kind of falls into that whole guy friend who's trying to get in your draw, so he might say whatever he needs to. But for the most part, those are the men you can go to. But you need to go to another man to be able to judge the situation. And you have to, as best you can, describe the situation fully. You can't just be like, oh yeah, so this guy comes up to talk to me and my husband just stepped in front and tried to fight him and it was stupid. It was weird. Like, you have to give details. And this will be a test for you. How well is that man at judging situations? He will ask questions if he's good at judging situations. He won't let you just say some crazy stuff like, my husband just jumped in it. Like, he'll be like, wait, that doesn't make sense. I know your husband. Especially if, like, it's your dad. He's like, I know your husband. So, what do you mean? Like, there's no reason he would just come in and want to fight some guy for no, like, what was it? What did the guy say? What did the guy do? What happened? What was the situation? What were you wearing? Where were the kids? And just in case you're like, what do you mean, what was I wearing? I'm not victim blaming. I'm just saying your dad's going to ask certain questions, or the man in the situation is going to ask certain questions to ascertain why the enemy was popping up and why your man felt the need to check him. So it might be because your man was like, yo, I don't want that guy getting no ideas. And again, for you, you might feel like it's ridiculous. You might feel like it's unnecessary. You might feel like, I'm fine, I know how to protect myself. Which brings me to my last point, ladies. Stop that shit. Y'all need to stop policing men checking other men. This is also why it's important for society. Men need to have the ability to check other men. Because when you stop us, when you tell us we're ridiculous, when you use words like toxic masculinity, things that don't technically really exist, and I'm not saying that there aren't bad men, but that's what it is. It's bad dudes. It's not toxic masculinity. There's masculinity and there's being toxic. Two different things. Masculinity by itself ain't toxic. We have rules and things, honor and strength and codes put together. We have a list of things that keep us on the straight and narrow. And this is one of them. You cannot stop or police. I mean, you can, temporarily, but you shouldn't stop or police what we're doing. You gotta let us do it. You gotta let us handle it. You don't know what it's like to be a man. You have no idea the things that we're going through and pressures and responsibilities and the little nuances that our animal can recognize in the other animal. You don't know what that is. There are certain things that you know and you can see in other women, and you've probably been in that situation. Your husband or your man might have did something at work that he was like, well, I don't understand. I just, she was cold, so I gave her my coat, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, she's going to think that you want her, like all this other stuff that for him it's mad simple, but for you, you see the nuance because it's woman to woman. You get it. So for us, it's man to man. We get it. So you gotta not police. That includes everything. If you see a situation between your dad and your husband and your brother, even your son and your husband, you gotta let him teach your son about these things, about aggression and fighting and the rules and whatever, because we know the rule book, but there's nuances that we learn from the man who is our guidepost, our father, our grandfather, the cousins, the uncles, the people in our life, teachers, coaches. We learn the nuance of when to hit and when not to hit. Because if there's a situation, even if you're on the other side, the checking is important, ladies. And what you have to do is just trust that we as men know what we're doing. Because we will be accurate. Even if it is our brother, our son, our cousin, our loved one. It could be our best friend in the situation. And if somebody in that situation deserved an ass whooping, hey, we gonna tell you. Even if you were the one who deserved the ass whooping, we will be able to let you know. You as the homie, man to man, be like, hey, that's what you get. Kind of like this.
Who did this to you?
I'm fine.
You're not. And after I'm done kicking his ass, the guy who did it isn't going to be either.
Harvey, just let it go.
That's not who I am.
I deserved it.
What did you do?
I don't want to tell you.
I wouldn't call this getting your shit together.
I don't want to tell you because of the story you told me about your mom and your dad.
You got off easy.
I know.
Now in Suits, Harvey treats Mike like a little brother. And so Harvey would immediately come to the rescue. But if he finds out Mike did something, or Mike basically earned that ass whooping, for as much as he loves Mike, he'd be like, hey man, that's what you get. You earned that. That's on you. You got checked. That's how the game go. We will uphold the code. Only horrible men who we don't even consider as men don't uphold the code. Ladies, so you might have a dad or a brother or whoever who's not great at identifying certain things, but for the most part, he's gonna tell you if your dude's gone too far or if your dude was right. Or he might be like, well, I don't really know, I wasn't there, you didn't give me enough details, but honestly, he's a good dude. So if he's doing something, there's probably a reason for it. So you don't have to be the one to judge. I know you don't like not having the power to judge other people, ladies, but you really can't. Because again, ladies, if you truly want to be protected, you got to start with allowing it to happen. Now, I know there's going to be possible haters and they're like, no, why are you blaming him? I'm not blaming anybody. Really. But I am saying that the proliferation of bitch-ass dudes who do horrible things has happened because, in part, major part, but in part, because women have been, over time, saying things like, there's no reason to hit another person. Violence is never the answer. You need to be nice. You need to be soft. You need to use your word. All this stuff stopping real mother from checking other dudes. Calling it toxic. Calling it all these words. You need to let us make other men strong and hold other men to the code. Hold them to the fire. Hold them to the standard of strength and honor, which is the first rule of man. And if you don't help us by just getting out of the way. If you try to stop us, it's how dudes grow up thinking that they can just do anything and everything they want, like put hands on a woman, and then you wonder why that happens. Another thing is the bystanders. You won't have dudes who protect if they're told don't step in and women can handle it their own self, and like if they're told to stay out of it. If they've been programmed and told for years and years and years and years and years that don't follow the programming that's in there, don't follow your nature, follow the nurture from a woman telling you this is what it's supposed to be like to be a man, do all these other things that are against your nature. There's no need to check another man with these levels of violence or these levels of aggression or pressure or what. So then you get dudes who are standing there watching like, They don't know what to do. They're just confused. They're sitting there having a fight between their own mind of like their nature going, nah, slap this mother, do something, stop him. And another thing that's like, no, you need to be nice. You need to, no, you never put hands on anybody. Like, and again, I'm not condoning violence, but what I am saying is that don't stop dudes from protecting you, the family, the territory, or himself. Don't stop him from doing that. Don't teach him, don't police, just, y'all really don't understand. And without getting into YouTube trouble, again, I'm not condoning violence. But I am saying there is a level of pressure, a level of force that's needed for men to check other men so that society doesn't have this proliferation of bitches just running around. And again, if you've not seen these videos before, when I call people bitches, 97+% of the time I'm talking about a dude. I'm talking about men. I'm talking about males. I'm talking about guys. All right, ladies? So again, ladies, if you don't want bitch-ass dudes running around, causing havoc, hitting people with bricks and stuff, let real mother check other men. Don't be in our way. So if you want society to be great, help us to help you. All right, that's the end of today's lesson. So again, don't forget to subscribe. And the lesson is mostly free, but pay the fee with a thumb, either up or down. Just let a brother know whether you love it or hate it. I know you love these lessons. Where else you gonna get this information about how to operate and how man mind works? Nowhere. So, come on back, click on another video, get some more of this learning. Till next time, deuce deuce.